Sweet surrender as I love, serve, and remember.
All right, good morning. So for those of you who haven't been coming, we've been going through a little shift in our community. We're shifting a little bit away, less about what we're away, focus is less about what we're away from, but moving towards this infinite possibility of being a house of prayer. But because it is a shift away from identifying a CSL, what we did was have 2 town hall meetings in person, and we had 1 online. And I just want to give a shout out for all of you for participating, for everyone who came to one of those town hall meetings. Thank you. That's what makes community happen. I want to give thanks to our board who are at those town hall meetings. Thank you to Cindy, who facilitated the online town hall, and to Lynn, who facilitated the in-person town halls. Thank you. Let's just give them love. You know, it's a lot of energy they're holding. So grateful, and I'm grateful to hear what you had to say. And I'll just say the one that was clearest is that there's a community. Yes, let's keep this space. So that's fantastic. We're just staying there. It's alive and possible, and we're not going. This is not a how-to. It's just to open up to what's happening and who we are and what we want to be. The what. We're worrying about the what today, not the how. We're not worrying about anything, by the way. We are co-creating in joy, in fearless joy of what's possible. We have. So I just want to get some very simple questions that people ask me. Are we going to continue to have Sunday services? Yes. Are we going to continue to have classes? Yes. Are all the classes going to be about prayer? No. Is anything spiritual? The only thing we won't be teaching is certificated classes, because those classes are copyrighted and belong to the CSL organization, and I don't think it's an integrity to use them. But everything else is good. And we have amazing teachers in our community who can teach all sorts of things. I also would like to say we have the space. If anyone wanted to do, say, a book group in the middle of the week, you are welcome to do it. Pick Eckhart Tolle or whatever. Just set it up, and hopefully people will come. But there are people who are available during the day. So it's a way to use our space for spiritually minded activities. I'm trying to remember all the questions. There was some concern about the title, Lighthouse, House of Prayer, because the House of Prayer is associated with the Christian religion, and what people were saying, they prefer spiritual, because most people find us looking up spiritual, because we tend to attract spiritual but not religious. I think that's great. I'm not attached to it as a title. Lighthouse, House of Prayer could be Lighthouse Spiritual Community. That's wonderful. Love the feedback. Very effective and clear. So the longer question is, what do I mean by prayer? So if you have 3 hours, we'll just sit down and we'll talk about what I mean by prayer. But the short answer is, I would say prayer is a means by which we connect with the divine. So we're not just connecting with our subconscious mind, we are connecting with the highest presence that there is, and we can do that. One of the things that I love, the saying that I like, is to know our oneness and union in God, because that sort of covers all the bases. There are some people who really love to know prayer as the I am, like we're shifting into you're in this sort of limited, and you start praying and you shift into the infinite I am that is moving through and as you, and is pouring his light and his love into as me, and truth and freedom and light, and we create and from this place of the I am. That's a wonderful way to pray, and that would be oneness. When we say union, that is implying two, but it's two that comes in union. So it's the same idea. You get to oneness, but the oneness is experienced as a divine communion between two presence, between my finite self and my infinite self, or my finite self and an infinite presence. So they're both fantastic. And so I like thinking of prayer as a means to our oneness, to know our oneness and union in God, in whatever way that looks. I would say there's different purposes for prayer, and they're all good. So you can pray for healing, and we do a lot of that in New Thought. I think New Thought really came about as a healing teaching because people were needing healing. It really formed in the 1800s, and medicine still wasn't what it is today. But we still need that. So the idea of prayer to heal our body, to heal our emotional life, to heal our finances, to heal our relationships, to heal creative expression in the world, that's all healing, and we're bringing it into wholeness through knowing spiritual principle and through prayer, through using our words. Prayer is so prayer is using language and words, and you can get to a place of silence. And when you get to the place of silence, that's where prayer and meditation sort of commune. It's hard to distinguish. Once you're in that place of stillness, you're either meditating and prayer. It's the same, but the way you get, but prayer can take you there through language. You're participating through the power of the word. And so the power of the word can heal. The power of the word can create. So that's why we call our symbol the creative process, because there's the spirit, the source itself, creates. That's how we are all here. It's a creative entity, and we are made in the image and likeness of that creative entity. So being creative is an essential part of our nature. We have to create. So that's a big part of prayer. And there's another part of prayer which is about transformation. One of the ways that something that helped me clarify that was Ken Wilber differentiated, and until he had said this, I never differentiated between the two, the difference between healing and transformation. He said healing is bringing back into wholeness, but it doesn't necessarily mean transformation. So you're healing something that needs healing, but transformation is actually evolving, transmuting your soul into something not completely different, but in essence, it's the same idea as becoming enlightened. So you can use prayer to become enlightened. And in the Western tradition, they call it metanoia. You're taking your soul and you're allowing these words that we're saying, these prayerful language, to transform our soul. So it's very powerful and beautiful. So that's what I mean by prayer. You may hear it from what I've heard from people is a lot of times they have heard that the only type of prayer is the prayer that they knew growing up. There's infinite types of prayer. I'm having a ball. I mean, it's extraordinary, all the different types of prayer. And so as you're going along, you might find a prayer that you really like, a prayer style, and you can use multiple prayer styles. You can have one prayer style, you can have multiple prayer styles. There's no rules except your heart. That's the rule, is to follow the rule of your heart in your prayer practice. So we'll be learning about different prayers. We have master practitioners in our community who will hopefully continue to teach treatment. So we will have continued teachings of treatment, and then we'll also be exploring other prayers as well. So that's what I mean by prayer. So I want to go into what is the vision for the house of prayer. The vision for the house of prayer. Well, first, I have to say this because just to put things in perspective. When we talk about a vision, it's not like, here's the vision and now we're doing it. Or at least, no, let me put it this way. It's how I've experienced vision. I can't speak to anyone else. So, for instance, when I had the vision of having Julian, third eye opens, see the whole, hospital, got the whole thing. But I didn't get any, when is this going to happen? Who's the husband? It was like an unfolding of discovery. So, and 13 years later, Julian was born. So I had the vision, but it was 13 years before it actually was fulfilled. When I got the vision to be a minister, it was with Yogananda and Shunma Suzuki. I didn't know I knew Shunma Suzuki because I had read his book, but that was years earlier. I hadn't thought about him much since then. So now now they're telling me to be a minister, And I don't think anything from Spirit is random, so I'm trying to figure out why. Never told me what I'm supposed to be a minister of. So it was, at the beginning of this year, I was talking about going on a treasure hunt because that's what it's been for me. I get like some part of the vision, but I got to figure it out after that. So I went to the minister of the church I was raised in. He had been a Pittsburgh Steeler football player. He had worked with Mother Teresa. He had worked with the Dalai Lama. A very cool dude. I thought, well, maybe this is my path. Talking to him, I'm like, no, I don't think that's it. So I was exploring, and eventually I said, oh, I really love what Michael Beckwith is saying. It wasn't like, clearly this is it, but that was the direction I moved in and moved across country. So my point being, and then it was 9 years from when I got that vision to its fulfillment. So it takes time, and there's a lot of things that have to be explored and gone through. I got a vision in 2001 that I'm still working on. Oh, it's a lot of years, over 20 years now. And it's very much alive. And then in 2018, as you all know, it wasn't a visual, it was auditory about becoming a house of prayer. And just to remind you, or for those of you who don't know, I was walking used to be a labyrinth by St. Francis back there. I was going for a walk, give St. Francis the guy nod as I walked by him, and I'm doing the labyrinth, and then the exact words that he says, and just because 2 weeks ago, I was talking about vision, purpose, and mission. When you get a vision, all of us, you don't have to write it down because it's imprinted on your soul. I've never forgotten any vision at all because it's fully present in the eternal moment, always. It's always there. So the exact words he said, it's time to start building your foundation. And I said, foundation of what? And he said, a house of prayer. That's how it came in December 2018. It's now 2026. I would just like to say, I'm not moving at light speed here. I'm not just going, oh, we gotta move. 7 years later. So it's been a process. So after COVID, we started a Lighthouse prayer team, and that was with our practitioners, as well as people who've been in a lot of classes and felt comfortable praying with people. We created, and it's been beautiful. And there's steps, and seems to be the next step. And it was very much Spirit-led because I tend to drag my feet. So I got clear last year that it was time to move away from CSL, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And I got that, and I said, great, I'll wait a year, find out what's next, so I don't just and then the immediate response, very clearly, a lot of energy, no, you're going now. Move, don't wait another year, get going. And it was like I wanted to stay in my comfort zone and keep it safe and have everything. No, just go. So I started telling people in our leadership team, I'm moving away from CSL. And of course, the question that kept coming up is, okay, but what's in place of that? I didn't have an answer, and it was getting very uncomfortable. And one day I just found myself prostrate on my bedroom floor, just crying and saying, you gotta give me something, I gotta have something. And again, this voice, now it wasn't over here, it was up here, and it said house of prayer. And I just woke, keep fresh before me my moments of high resolve. I knew that, I just forgot. I forgot that's this road and journey I'm on. But it doesn't mean I have all the ducks in the row, like every vision, that at least the way I've experienced it, maybe you have it, I don't get a blueprint. It's like, oh, okay, now what does this mean and what does this look like? So the shift, there's a culture. Well, first of all, there's cultures. And so there's two shifts I want to talk about. One is, because someone asked me, actually I've had a few people ask me, why do I need to leave CSL? Which I think is a completely reasonable question. The way I would answer that is, there's cultures, and CSL has a culture, and Ernest Holmes is the foundation. So when you take foundations class, you read Ernest Holmes. You read other books, but Ernest Holmes is the foundation, which is fine. And then you can go off in all these different directions, but he's the place that people continue to come back to. And I recognize that was hard for me. So at first, anyone who knows me, I've never been shy about saying that it's challenging. And so this was on the minister's listserv in 2008. I wrote a long email about how I wrote a whole process of how we could all come together, figure out what our universal truth principles are, and then have the universal truth principles but not identified with any one particular person. And I had a lot of people who agreed with me when I would write on the minister's listserv. When I wrote that, 0, nope. Ernest Holmes is our foundation. That is fine. I am not against anything. I just recognize that has never been really how I operate. And so when I say how I operate, I've been following this divine presence, and it's been guiding me to all these different teachers in all these different ways. And if I have a call to ministry, the ministry has to be in alignment. It's not about me, this is what I want. I've been listening and following, and it takes me years. And I'm following that. And it's not making anything wrong. There's just differences. You know, I spent 2 years being a minister at Unity. Unity has the exact same principles that we have. I didn't have any trouble being a minister at a community with the exact same principles, but they don't read Ernest Holmes all the time. They read the Fillmores. It was just a different cultural feeling. One's not better than the other. They're just different. When Ernest Holmes started CSL, Unity had been around for decades. He wasn't saying Unity's bad. He just wanted to create. Or maybe he was feeling the presence and the power to move through him and wanted to create something new. That's all that's happening. It's not against anything. It's just following this journey that I've been on and having it continue to open and expand as a ministry. The first New Thought Center I went to was independent. It didn't belong to any organization, and it's still growing. I don't know if it's growing. It's thriving in terms of it's been around for decades. The minister when I was there was fantastic. I was watching a minister recently. She was fantastic. It's a great community, and it's not part of any organization. There's just a free flow. It's not right or wrong. It's just there's differences, and I tend to be a person who likes as many possibilities as possible. So that's just a cultural shift, but it's not against anything. For me, it's about being all inclusive, because the thing about all New Thought Centers, as far as I have experience, is we all believe that God is in everything. Like, I've never been to a New Thought Center that thought only New Thought has God. No, God is in everything. We're all in agreement. So I don't feel like it's a huge shift. Same principles. But the shift, there is, for me, a far more significant shift. So we'll be teaching the same principles, spiritual principles. So that it's not like a huge change, but there is one change that does feel very different, for me anyway. And that's when the foundation is prayer. One of the things, I don't want to get into the intellectual piece, but we can learn principles and then practice them. That's one format. But as I said, there was a reason why I had a call from Paramahansa Yogananda and Shunryu Suzuki. Because I used to ask myself all the time, why? Why them? And what do they have in common? Because their meditation styles were very different, but they had one place that they were absolutely the same. Practice first. So if you go to Zen Center, just start meditating, doing Zen meditation. They'll teach you. You can go to Zen Koan. They have classes about everything, also, just like we do, lots of classes, but there is the culture that you participate and learn how to practice Zen, and people are there because they want to practice Zen. They're not there like, I don't want to practice Zen, but I want to take the classes. It's inherent. It's all integrated. So for instance, I've been there. I love going there. I love feeling the energy when I go there. You can feel it is a meditating community. Talked about that at Center for Spiritual Enlightenment, which is that's a Yogananda center, but it's also very New Thought. You can feel it when you walk in. It's not abstract, it's not conceptual. You feel people are doing spiritual work here. And it was very important to both of the founders that people actually practice. And so what I was going to say is I took a class just recently, like a year ago, and it was great because then you get invited to meditate with all the monks who are meditating. It was fantastic. So the reason why both of these teachers wanted people to practice first, or at least in addition, simultaneous, is because otherwise learning spiritual principles can become very abstract. And especially when we're talking about transforming. We can talk, I think one reason why we talk a lot about healing in this world, because we can see it. It's very tangible. Talking about metanoia and transforming into higher states of consciousness is very ethereal and it's very hard to talk about. And so their intention is, come meditate, start having the experience so when we're in class and we're talking about it, you have something to relate it to. It's not just a concept. And so when I look at, because when I got the message, the foundation, he very clearly, nothing Spirit does is by accident. So the foundation is prayer. What that told me is to sort of shift it a little and say, we begin with teaching prayer and have people start praying. And one of the things I've discovered about prayer, there's a lot of preconceived notions about it, but there's also a lot of, unlike meditation, for those of us in the Western culture, not everybody, but most people didn't grow up in a meditating community or world culture. So when you're learning meditation, you don't come in with a lot of baggage. We are praying, Western society is very big on prayer, and so there's a lot of stuff. And so what comes forth is, I don't like praying, it's meaningless, it's just words, it's rote, it's boring, all of these things, which are all completely valid. And prayer, by the way, can be very difficult, just like meditation can be difficult. And it's only for people who really practice really hard. And the way I look at prayer, so to be a house of prayer means to me everybody is welcome, is not just welcome, invited to participate in prayer from day one. Just like if I go to the Zen center, I'm immediately taken into the place. If I didn't know how to do Zen, they would teach me how to Zen, and I'm welcome into the community to start practicing. No expectation if I'm any good, or there's no words in meditation, so nobody knows what's going on in your head, but you sort of learn everybody has monkey mind and all the challenges. The problem with prayer is there's a lot of fear around it, fear about doing it right. The reason why I'm not getting results, external results, the reason why I don't feel anything inside is because I'm doing it wrong, I'm saying the wrong words. So I think for me is to, like I said, we're not moving at the speed of light here. We're not going from 0 to, well, first of all, to be clear, we're not going from 0 to 100. We have a fabulous Lighthouse prayer team, which I think is very much the heart and soul of what we are already. And so it's just growing and evolving. We're emerging more and more about what this can look like. And so that is an unfold. We're doing the prayer class now. We had a class last week. It was fabulous. And we're all exploring prayer. I'm exploring prayer. I've been doing treatment for 33 years. And what happened was I was listening to a minister pray, and it wasn't begging and beseeching. It wasn't affirming prayer. It was just this incredibly loving, tender, warm prayer. And I just opened my eyes. I'm like, I want to pray like that. And I didn't know how. Like, the only way I know how to pray is treatment. No, that's not the only way. That's the only way I've ever learned is treatment prayer. So I'm exploring too. To me, I'm taking this class. I've just bought a book called On the History of Prayer. I've been going into it. It's so cool. I haven't had much time, but it's pretty interesting. And I was just, things came up in our prayer class, and then it talked the next day with somebody else. I went to I'm like, I'm learning so much. I'm like, really? Wait, back up. I'm not sure I understand that. Like, I'm learning too, and there's nothing more fun than learning. So the idea of prayer, and I'm saying that because I'm right with you. I'm learning too. I'm growing and expanding in my own understanding of prayer, and we're allowed to make mistakes all over the place because God doesn't care. The divine presence doesn't care there's no right or wrong about prayer. There's no right way to do it. I do want to say one way we can all enter into prayer if you wanted to immediately. Well, first of all, you can say any affirmation. I am love, I am love, I am love. That can be a prayer when we know that the I am that we're saying is the great I am that is a source of all life. Love is a source of all life. I am love, I am love, I am love. That becomes a beautiful prayer that we can say throughout our day. The more we pray, we can take it in, just like if you're doing meditation, you're bringing it into as you're washing the dishes. Well, you can bring prayer into every aspect of your life, and it starts to transform you. There's another form of prayer, which is just conversation with God. And I know some of you were raised that way. I was raised that way. I wasn't raised with any formal prayer. I was just told, God's everywhere. Just share what's going on in your heart. And so that's what I've been doing. And it's not just me talking at this divine presence, it's a communion. It's going back and forth and allowing. And I know many of you do, but when I was asking people like a year ago if they talk to the presence, I was surprised a lot of people don't. It's more of a feeling moving through you, not a conversation. Anything is fine, but just opening up that possibility from this moment forward, you can just start having a conversation with the divine presence. And you can say, I am love, but you can also just have a conversation, whatever in your heart. And for me, that's what I like saying, whatever's in my heart, because I am love, but if I'm feeling sad or scared or anything, I can talk to the divine and say, I give this to you, I'm scared, I don't know what to do. I feel the things happening in Minneapolis, and I feel so overwhelmed. I give this to you. It's like it's a communion that starts to happen, and it can happen throughout our day. No one does it perfectly. I am the most imperfect person you can imagine, and I want to say that also about vision. The vision is perfect. I'm not. So that's why it takes me forever to the end of my life. Two other points I just want to say about the vision, any vision, especially so I have a call. I didn't ask for it, it came to me. What I understand about call is that with the vision that comes with it, other people will feel excited by that vision. And I'm hearing that there's a lot of interest in exploring this. Maybe not clear what it is, but exploring it. And that's not because the vision is mine. I don't own the vision. The vision is something that has called me, and if it's calling you, that's what this community is. It's calling people who want to participate in healing, manifestation, transformation, transmutation, all of these aspects that prayer can give us, and start from where you are right now. Everybody's welcome. You can pray instantly. There's no right or wrong. You don't need to read a book. You don't need to go to a teacher. Just speak from your heart and you're praying. And you know how to do that since you're a little kid. Just speak from your heart. House of Prayer is very simple. Everyone's welcome to the table. I was asked, what if people don't want to pray? I don't know how to answer questions like that. Anyone's welcome. It's just, I think there's just becomes a part of, eventually, spirituality becomes palpable when we practice it and not just talk about it. So I'm hoping people will be curious enough to want to at least try it, play around with it. One of the things, the topic today was fearless joy. I haven't felt a lot of fear at this. In fact, I felt a lot of joy personally. because I know the vision, and it's not my vision, and I know if there's any part of us that believes there's a divine idea, and you might not have heard it, so that's sort of why I was giving space, because I'm like, okay, this is where my vision is, but I don't want to impose it on anyone. Someone said they felt like I was indifferent to what everyone else wanted, that I was indifferent to the community. I'm not indifferent. I was just trying to give space so other people can find your answers. And I hope that we're in alignment, and I'm understanding that there is some alignment here, and that's very exciting. So we're in this place of prayer, but when we know that we're operating, all of us, in a divine idea that has called us, that none of us own this vision, that there is a divine idea that has very intentionally, with volition, is calling forth from this community to become a house of prayer, that feels pretty awesome to me. And when I have experienced the divine idea, the way to do it will be shown every step of the way. That path will unfold because it doesn't give a vision and then abandon it. If there's a vision, the fulfillment of that vision is also right there at the same time. The two things go hand in hand. So the fearless joy is the divine has called us. The divine has called us. You know, if there's any part of you that says there might be a little bit of truth to this, I think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool that St. Francis came and, for those of you who don't know, not only whispered it into my ear, but just a couple months later, the church that was here left, and they invited us to come and rent in here. I was walking by, I saw it was open. Yes, we'd love to have you, and here we are. That's not an accident. That's the divine saying, yes, house of prayer, this is unfolding. I just go really slowly. That's all I could say. So I want to say two other things about fearless joy. About fearless joy and about prayer. And I want to connect it with my aneurysm. And because soon after we moved into the space, I had an aneurysm. And it wasn't a fearful experience for me. And the reason why it wasn't a fearful experience is because, as many of you already know, I was getting dreams about it before it happened. And the dreams were full of joy. Like, oh, this is a good thing. I didn't know what it was. I knew something was down the line and it was good. So when it happened, I had a bleeding aneurysm is from when I was a kid, and Diane Pollard took me to the urgent care. Just as a cool side note, the doctor who was watching me, at the time we were doing World's Religions, and we were going through different religions throughout the year, and we were on Islam, and I had been told by people at the Unity Church how great this Muslim speaker was. I was trying to get in touch with him. I could not get in touch with him. He was my doctor. So it was pretty awesome. So we're laughing. We're getting along really well, but, you know, my mind's moving slower, and then they leave the room. And Diane Pollard told me later, she told him, yeah, that's not how Harriet talks. And he said, why? He said, she talks much faster than that. So, and my mind was slowing down. He came back, pale, you have a bleeding aneurysm. And at this point, my ability to speak was had pretty dissolved. And I was so aware of, I saw all the fear of people around me, and I felt none. I felt nothing but joy. I was in joy. I'm like, there's nothing bad happening here. I was still me, because I was still me. I hadn't lost anything. And I knew I hadn't lost anything. I knew that. And this is the beauty. And I had been working, I always do my spiritual practices, meditation, etc. But I'd been working very intentionally also with prayer for the last 6 years. So when this happened, it's like I had been doing this work. And now I was seeing the fruits of it. The transformation is, I'm not just my language that can communicate, that I am whole, perfect, and complete, even without language. And I knew that. And I saw the fear, and I'm like, there's nothing, but I didn't worry about it, because I wasn't in fear. And to me, that's what the fearless part is. When we connect with Spirit on any level, and 2 weeks ago, remember we were asking about the vision and the purpose and the mission for your life, the more you're connecting with the vision for your life personally, and I hope you're working on that, what's the vision, what's the divine idea for my life, and you start to connect with that, you start to lose fear. You stop losing fear because you know there's something so much more powerful, not just a little bit more powerful, but it's the all power of all creation is the source of your life. And when you know that, you don't wander around in fear. It's all good. You hear that say, it's all good. Well, that literally is true. But it's just an idea until you start experiencing it. And that's what the whole idea is, having a community that is doing the practices as well as learning the ideas to be practicing. The second experience I had during this aneurysm was I had no fear, but I will say he planted an idea in my head that did not occur to me. They just had me go to surgery immediately the next day. The surgeon comes in, and he tells me, if you're going to look for the best brain surgery there is, him. No, that's okay. That's okay. It's okay. So he comes in, and he says, it's my duty, or not duty. By law, I say I do have to tell you this. And at this point, I'm not really talking, although I was journaling, which he found confusing. I don't know. I just had to do that's my spiritual practice. I had to get it done. That's on my mind. But he started talking, and he said, I need to tell you that you have less than 10% chance to live. And that was the first time it dawned on me that I might not be coming back. Never even occurred to me. And so as they're wheeling me off to the surgery, I can no longer speak full sentences. It's weird, so I said something, but it's not necessarily in the words that we know, but I knew that I was saying it, was that I accept all the prayers that are being spoken on my behalf. And as I said that, and I was being lifted in this light, I saw all these heads. I didn't see anything below the heads. I saw this, and all this light and love pouring up, and it was like lifting me up. And that's why I've always been excited by collective prayer, because it was like all these prayers were creating this web and lifting me up. And it was beautiful. And I remember, I don't know, this might have been afterwards in retrospect, I don't know. It didn't matter what anybody was saying. It did not matter the words. It wasn't like, well, those are the wrong words. That's not going to come true. People were praying from their heart for me, whatever that prayer looked like. And that energy of love is what was lifting me up in the light. So to remind all of us that when we're praying, there's no right prayer and wrong prayer. There's only the prayer of your heart. And if your heart is in the right place, if you're loving and you're just loving, that's the energy that we're going to fill the universe with. What I also know, and this is to take away a little bit of what the outcome is, I don't think the reason why I came back was because of prayer, because I actually did have those dreams beforehand that this was, like I'd already seen me on the other side of it in the hospital room. So I was pretty confident that was going to happen anyway. What the prayer did, all those prayers did, is made my path so clear and beautiful and graceful. There was no struggle. There was just this open-hearted yes. When we trust that light to carry us to the next step on our journey, whatever that next step is, and we are surrendered to it because we know this light is so good. It is so good, and it's so loving beyond our wildest human comprehension. Everything flows in a grace and this ease. It doesn't mean that was a beautiful experience. I don't want to say that doesn't mean the human world is not hard. It is. This isn't to bypass the challenges of this world, but there's a way to walk through those challenges, bringing God into the center of those challenges, bringing in this light into the center of those challenges, bringing this healing love into the center of those challenges, and allowing it to do its work in ways that we can't. We are all limited. We are all imperfect. We all have our challenges. But we continue to invite this light in. That's what being a house of prayer is inviting the light in over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And that's how we become a house full of light, or a lighthouse. So that's our vision. That's the direction. And I do know that there's maybe more questions, maybe an uncomfortability. It's change, but just to be very clear, nothing is happening very fast. I tend not to move very fast on anything. But we are moving in this direction, and I'm really, really, really excited to be moving in this direction and not holding back anymore out of fear, but just going, yes, we're going for it. We're going to be a house of prayer, and we're going to keep growing in it until it starts to become part of our culture. And that might take a year or two. But it's a beautiful vision, and I hope you continue to join me in it. Let's pray. And so right now, I just want to throw open my arms, my heart, my soul, my body to this divine, infinite, and eternal one. And I invite everyone in this room, whether you don't have to do it physically, but just internally, you can do it physically, but internally, to the extent that you are willing to throw open your heart, your body, your soul, your mind, to this infinite and eternal light, to this love that is truly beyond human comprehension, that does not make sense to the human self. It is so extraordinarily vast and unconditional. No limits. It never stops loving. There is no reason on earth that this presence will ever stop being love. And I trust this love. Do we trust this love? We open our heart and trust this love with every part of our being. And we know that this love knows each and every one of us, sees us, knows us, is intimate with us, has been since the day we were born, and I believe in before we were born. It knows this path that we are on. It loves us in our path. It delights in our path. It is fully in joy of this path. It is never in fear. It just continues to say yes and be in delight with itself and do dances as it's continuing to grow, to evolve, to become more and more and more of itself in, through, and as each and every one of us in its unique, glorious way. I am so grateful for the power and the presence of love showing forth as every person in this community, in person, online, in the past, in the present, and in the future, every being absolutely embracing this wonderful divine energy to heal us, to create through us, to transform us, so that we truly begin to really know we are heaven on earth. In deep and abiding gratitude for all of this infinite love that has been pouring forth itself through us since the beginning of time, I just say thank you, God. And we continue to hold this infinite love that holds us, our community. We continue to hold those places of pain inside of ourselves, inside of this country, inside of this world, and in the cosmos. We hold this love, this light, that has no beginning, that has no ending, that is timeless and spaceless and free and unlimited. Healing, revealing, transforming itself even now for the greatest good of everyone. In deep abiding gratitude, I just say thank you, God. I release this word into the law of life, knowing as this word has been spoken, it is already done. In deep abiding gratitude, we let it be as we say, and so it is. Amen and amen.
I walk in God in all